All right.
Get her done.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Monday. Photo Blab. We're here. Mark is here. A whole mess of you guys are here. Hello to Ash and Steve and Mike McKenna. Mike Nikon Drools. Haha. Just kidding. And Mike Kaczynski is here. Steve and Thomas. And Thomas, hello, hello. It's been quite a while since I've seen you. Not to make you feel bad when I say that. And hello to Harley and Madison as well. And Jason is hanging out here. The gang's all here. So
hopefully people can hear me right off the bat too.
Yeah, it should be good because I actually, for real, did fix the sound properly today. And so we should be all right there. But this is super fun. My chat window just locked up on my computer.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
off to a good start.
Let me try to fix that real quick so I can keep up with the chat. There we go. Hello to Brenda. Brenda's joining us as well tonight. Awesome. Here, we got the chat back. Hey, Sandy, how's it going?
Jason
Leroy,
so you can hear me.
Yeah. All right. So the share room is open. I'm about to drop the link into the chat. If you've got a photo you want to share for the show tonight, go ahead and use that link. And we will be taking a look at your photos in just a minute here. Steve says, got the wife involved in the 2-week texture challenge now. That is awesome. So
That's
all
cool.
3 of them are doing it. Excellent, excellent. By the way, Steve, is Maya hanging out with you tonight? Harley got his eyes dilated today, and I made a joke. I said whenever that happens to me, I say it feels like I'm an f1.8 lens, and he said, it's more like an f1.2. Very nice. All right, so before we start with the share, we want to know what everybody's been up to. So tell us about your weekend, or last week in photography. And while we're waiting for you guys to pop whatever you've been up to into the chat, Mark and I will tell you what we've been up to. Let's see. Hello to John as well. Oh, Maya's not here. She's not here this week, and she's going to be in Florida for next Monday's challenge. So she said,
no.
Maya's sad. That's a total bummer. But tell Maya we still want to see her texture photo, so you'll just have to share it for her, Steve, and then she can watch it after the fact if she wants to catch up on it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Hello to Michael McLean, who's just joined, and Dave is here from the UK as well. Oh, God, that's good. Sandy just made a good one. Sandy says, I was wondering if you can see the Milky Way when you get your eyes dilated. That's so awesome. Hello, Diana. Welcome to the show. Brenda said, I took a few photos for the texture photo. Brenda, that's awesome. However, tonight's open share. Next week is actually texture. You can share the texture photos tonight if you want to, but I encourage you to save them for next week when we're actually going to be doing the texture challenge. Tonight, it's whatever you'd like to share. I've got a photo I'm going to share. Mark has got one.
What's his name there?
Yeah, that other dude over there, right there. This guy right here. I'm trying to point at you on the screen. I'm not doing a very good job of it. Okay, so Mark, what have you been up to this week? And we'll catch up with the chat after that.
Yeah, myself, I have I got together with a couple of friends on Saturday, and we hung out for a little bit and tried to shoot, but it was awfully cold, so we really didn't do that much shooting. Only got a couple of pictures and nothing I was really all that happy with. But then on Sunday, got together with a bunch of photographers and models in Barrie, which is about 45 minutes away from me. Mm-hmm. And this basically is just a gathering, get out, did some shooting, and had a good time. And one of the photos that I've got in here is from that shoot. So that's basically what I've been up to, other than just my regular work. And I am feeling a little bit, I don't feel sick, but I got a bit of a tickle in my throat, or not even really sore, just feels off. So if I'm coughing on the air, I apologize ahead of time.
Right. Yeah, I've had that same phlegminess and a little bit of a cough as well.
Yeah.
So for me, I haven't been doing a lot of shooting at all this week. In fact, I haven't shot anything. No, I take that back. I did shoot something. I'll show you the photo I shot, in fact. I was shooting a photo for use on like YouTube for my like for thumbnails and stuff like that. So
Oh, okay.
this was the photo I shot of myself. Let me switch over to the screen so you guys can see that, which is just a pretty straightforward headshot of me, being my usual goofy self, and that's like the only thing I've shot recently. But what I've been doing a lot of is working on like the business stuff on the back side of things, like working on my website and trying to get things organized with like my courses and how all of the stuff that you have to run to have a website and have courses that you sell and whatnot. Basically working on the back end structure of that.
The stuff nobody sees.
What's that?
The stuff nobody sees.
Yeah, right. That's true. Like the stuff nobody sees, like as far as making it all work. Of course, when people go to my website or whatnot, they're seeing the manifestation of that work. But that's a lot of what I've been doing. So not as much shooting, but that. Real quick, I want to say thank you very, very much to Thomas Giuliano for that. Whoops, I hit the wrong button there. For that $20 super chat. That's incredibly generous. Thank you very, very much, Thomas. Thomas has been a supporter for a very, very long time.
Yeah, probably since the beginning for the most
part.
part.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, and Thomas actually just said here too. Unfortunately, not photography. He hasn't been shooting as much lately, which I get. That happens, right? Life happens, and for whatever reason, you may or may not be able to shoot, or you may decide to put it down. And he says he's been working on his main hobby, his car, and let's see, Mike, who asked, was it Mike or Ash? Somebody asked, or Steve asked what kind of car, which I was going to ask too. And it's a 67 Camaro, which that's a pretty sweet car.
That's the first year for that car.
Is it really?
Yep.
Okay.
67 was the first.
And Paul just added a super chat as well. Thank you so much. You guys are incredibly generous. And very, very much appreciate you guys, your support, both of you, Thomas and Paul, and everybody else. Just by joining and watching and subscribing, it really means a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Thomas and Paul. I wanted to just share my first car. This is a question I want to hear from you guys since we're talking about cars. Maybe we should do a car challenge sometime. Yeah, that might be a good challenge. My first car. Let us know what your first car was in the chat. Yeah, Skylarks are the one I like, hun. That's my wife, by the way, for any of you who are wondering, Kim, in the chat there. My first car was a 1972 Skylark. Buick Skylark. I loved that car. Loved it. It was not a car that was in great shape, but it had, it had the 350 GM engine in it, the Buick engine, and man, did I like driving that car. I got smart with that car once. This is so bad. Okay, so we were driving home. Was it home from school, or was it just? I don't remember what we were doing, but it was me and a friend of mine, and we were at this intersection that was a T intersection. So it was a T intersection on a very short bridge. So it wasn't an open intersection. There were railings along the side as you're making the turn. And for whatever reason, I decided it would be super smart of me to come up to that stop sign at the T and then peel out of that stop sign and fishtail around the corner on a rainy day. Well, you can imagine how that went.
Probably not so good.
No, I fishtail around the corner. I managed to avoid destroying my car by smashing into the railings, but I did run over somebody's mailbox. And it was full of mail, so their mail goes flying all over the yard. I felt like such a moron when I did that. And so what I ended up doing was pulling the car over, and I went back and I picked up all of their mail. There was a package that flew out of their mailbox. And I took it up to the door, and I knocked on the door, and I said, I'm really sorry. I just ran, and the parents weren't there. It was just the kids. I imagine if the parents were there, or probably my parents, because I was a dumb kid with no money at the time, would probably have had to pay to fix the mailbox. But because it was just the kids, they said, okay, and they just took the mail, and that was it. And so I sort of skated on that, but I felt like a total moron. So quick couple shout outs. Hello to some other folks that have joined the chat here. Let's see where, let me scroll up a little bit. Diana, mommy and photographer from Calgary, hello. And I wanted to say hello to Ash. Ash said he put an offer in on a house this week and have no time for anything. Yeah, I know how that goes. That's crazy, but that's exciting. Fingers crossed. Did that offer get accepted, Ash, or are you still waiting to hear back from that? If you haven't, fingers crossed that it gets accepted and everything goes out, no problem on that. All right, so let's see. Wayne had a great Sunday out shooting in Suffolk in the UK. Let's see. Mike McKenna said, shot a hockey game on Saturday, a Division III championship in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. That's about 30 minutes from where I live here. About 1,900 JPEGs, takes forever to edit. Indeed it does. That's a ton of editing. Let's see here. Oh, Steve had a question for me. He said, because I'm going to be at ClickCon in August. I'll be teaching at ClickCon as well. And Steve and his wife are going to ClickCon as well. And he said, I got into Jerry Gahanis' real wedding shoot at ClickCon Max on the third day. And he said, that should be a great experience. I would agree with that. And then he says, any word on what you are doing the first 2 days? I can actually, I don't think I've gotten my schedule yet. But I'd have to look at the page. I should take a look, actually. Let's see if we can find out. ClickCon. I'm going to try to look it up real quick and find myself.
Okay, well, while you're looking, I'll go over what my first car was then.
Cool. Yeah, and tell us, did you do something stupid like I did?
Yeah.
Tell us your story, Mark. Tell us your story.
So my first car was a 76 Camaro.
Okay.
And it was a rust bucket. Like it probably technically shouldn't have been on the road, but it was my first car, and I think I paid $500 for it or something like that. I don't remember, but that year was like one of the lowest horsepower ones too, because that was when all the emissions and everything were full bore. So it probably had like 35 horsepower, some crazy number like that. But I used to always drive it down this industrial parkway it was like a dead end road, and go down to the end of it down there and just basically just crank on her and just do donuts down there all the time. But because the car was so badly rusted, the inside of the car would fill up from all the smoke from the tires, and you'd be choking on it and everything. And
oh man.
Yeah, I remember the one hole was so bad that at one point in time, for whatever reason, the cops used to always pull me over. Some kid driving around a Camaro, but I never drank, and I still don't drink, but a couple of my buddies did. We got pulled over one day, and my buddy in the back seat had a beer, so basically he just kind of reached down to where the hole was in the floor and put the beer outside of the car.
Oh my God, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's my story.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so I just looked and I could not find on the website my schedule information, and they haven't sent me, so I don't actually know. I know I'm teaching 4 classes total, 2 two-part classes. But I don't have my schedule yet for ClickCon. But either way, like, I'm going to be around. I definitely want to meet up and hang out with people too. So totally open for that. And Steve, if you want to shoot me a message, we can actually coordinate something so we can hang out. Let's see here. Madison said, this week I've been working on pictures and watching basketball and just chilling. That's awesome. And Steve is getting ready for some weddings. He's got a final 2-week before meeting on Saturday of my first solo wedding. That's awesome. And then next week, a meeting for my second one in May for signing the contract. That's very, very cool. So building up that wedding business is awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. And John says, purchase the awesome Tamron 24 to 70 millimeter G2 lens over the weekend. Looking forward to using it on my UK trip next week. That's sweet. That's a sweet lens. Very, very cool. Mike says all great photographers' names start with the letter M. Oh, hello, Panos Mix. Hello from Greece. That's super awesome. I still want to get to Greece sometime. And let's see. Tim is hanging out, although I know Tim won't be able to stay for the whole chat. Tim's got that same lens. Sandy says, I would keep the old car and use it as a background prop for some vintage portraits. Yeah, very cool. And we got at least one car shot in the chat already from Thomas, so I'm excited to take a look at that. Tim's first car was an 81 Honda Civic hatchback. You bought that car for $75? Oh my God, that's dirt cheap.
Yeah, no kidding.
The 65 Skylark is Harley's first car. Thomas says the 65 Wildcat is a Skylark with a 455 HO. That's crazy. That's a big motor. And Michael had a VW Beetle. Brenda had a 69 Chevy Biscayne. I don't even know what a Biscayne looks like.
I've heard
What
of
is a Biscayne? Chevy, I gotta look that up. Chevy Biscayne. Here we go. Oh, that's a slick looking car. Check that out. That's a very cool looking car. I'd drive one of those. Although I'll say this, I might get a little bit of hate for it like this, but boy, oh boy, do I hate Chevy's current run of commercials. Their whole real people commercials drive me crazy. Like, I cannot stand those commercials. And my wife and I always joke that we're never going to buy a Chevy because of those real
commercials.
Yeah, because of the commercials. Ooh, we got a 76 Pinto. That's Noisy Mama had. That's crazy. Hey, Janice Forrest, welcome. And let's see here. Sandy got a 1980 Chevy Celebrity for $500. Man, I remember the day when you could get a car for under $1,000. You just about can't do that anymore.
No, it's difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Steve's first car was a 1986 Escort wagon. Oh my God, I remember those cars. Those things were so ugly. Do you remember how ugly those were? At least I thought they were super ugly.
Yeah, well, when I met my wife, she had a Topaz, which is basically the same as the Tempo.
Yeah, the Mercury version.
Not the wagon, though. And
yeah.
What a piece of junk that thing was.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Thomas says that car is no joke, the 65 Wildcat. Full of power. Very, very much so. Steve's second car is an 87 Trans Am, which I still have and rebuilt twice. That's very cool. Hey, Jeff is here, Jeff May, and Jeff had a 1967 Mustang GT. Oh, wow. We got a 65 Mustang that, let's see here. Oh, we got another super chat. Holy crap, I didn't even see that. I'm back. Lemon Shetty is here. Hello, Lemon Shetty, and thank you so much for that super chat. I'm sorry I didn't see that earlier.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow, the chat is just banging tonight. We got to get to your photos here real quick too. So I want to catch up on the chat, then we'll get into those photos because that's what we're really here for anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So Janice had a 65 Mustang. Jason's first car was a 2005 or 6 Chevy Trailblazer. He says, "I guess I'm the young one in the group."
Yeah.
Ash's first was a 94 Dakota. Nice. Thomas did stupid things with his car too.
I think we all did.
Oh, Kim's first car. Kim said, I can't even remember my first crap car. It was a huge leaked oil, and it was named Anagunda. That was a I can't remember the year. I'm pretty sure it was like an late 80s Chevy Caprice. That thing was one of those land yachts of a car.
Big boats, yeah.
Big boat of a car, yeah. Jason asked he said you didn't ever go back and try to find the parents. No, I did not. I mean, as a responsible person, I probably should have done that. As a stupid 17-year-old kid, I did not do that.
You were perfectly in line.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, a 71 Ford Maverick was Mike's first car. Hey, CyberDoc is here as well. Okay, Thomas says, cars are what got me more into photography. Very, very cool. Pole's first car was a 1969 Mini. I like Minis. All right. Oh, and Diana says, thank you for having this chat. You're very welcome. We're very happy to have it. Ash says, the loan is in underwriting. That's very cool. Fingers crossed, everything goes through. No problems. All right. Let's see here. That's funny. Hey, Photo Finn. Dude, you're here. How's it going? Awesome. You're welcome. I've been checking out your videos and commenting. I'm enjoying them. And we still got to talk about a collab, man. All righty. Okay, so I want to get you guys' photos. Car Talk is cool, so we'll catch up on that. But let's take a look at your photos. Oh, wait a minute. CyberDoc says, the first car I borrowed without permission, that sounds like a story, was a 1976 Chevy Monte Carlo, white with maroon pinstripes and maroon Landau top. Nice. That sounds like a story. That sounds like a story right there. All right. Let us take a look at you guys' photos. Ooh, Madison, I just saw you had a message there and it pulled out right as I was about to read it. That's okay. All right, so we have our first photo in the chat here, and this one is very nice. Okay, let me find the details for this. So this is from Atlanta, and I don't see any information. Where is it? Let's see. Twisted Tree, that's not it. 15. Oh, I think the message was in the other chat here.
Yeah.
There it is. I took a picture of a twisted tree. Well, nope, that's not it. Okay, I don't have any information on this particular photo, so we'll just take a quick look at it. I got this up. And if this is your photo, go ahead and share some information about this one. Right off the bat, I like this shot. I gotta say, this is a cool shot because it's got... it's like a feast for the eyes, right? Like there's so much going on.
To look at, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at here. There's a lot to look at here. And because it's black and white, that actually, although I'm imagining the statue, actually the statue looks like it's got a ton of graffiti on it, which seems like it would make it colorful. But taking away the color reduces the contrast in between the statue and the building. And I think that reduction of contrast in this case works because the statue kind of blends into the building a little bit, but there's enough distinction that, like I say, it feels very chaotic for the eyes, and my eyes keep roaming around and looking at it and finding really interesting stuff. Yeah, Thomas says it was a good choice to do it in black and white. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I think it looks good as a black and white too. The only thing that I keep looking at is I think the sky was added in afterwards in post, but I think it's a decent blending job, but something still keeps me thinking that the sky isn't the original sky, but it still suits the scene regardless. I like this one as a black and white, but I like black and whites more so than you do too. So
right.
And it's nice. It's a nice crunchy black and white too.
Yeah, I hadn't picked up on the potential sky replacement, but now that you mention that, in zooming in, granted this is a lower res image, so what you're seeing here looks pretty pixelated. But zooming in, I think we can see a little bit of the selection haloing around the edge of the hair of the statue. This isn't a bad job by any means, but that's an area where you could go clean it up a little bit if you wanted to.
Yeah, because it looks like they went to all the trouble. You can see where you're zoomed in there, just above the statue's back there. It still has all the the hydro poles or whatever that is back there, and going into that much detail of keeping that is a lot of work.
Right.
So I question whether or not it's the sky was added in, or whether it's an HDR that's been converted to black and white. Either way.
Right. Either way. Yeah, a little bit more processing work to clean that up could be worth doing. Noisy Mama says that she loves that due to the point of view and the angle, it looks like the statue is looking over the building, which is very accurate. That's a really cool point because it actually helps direct your attention into that background. Mm-hmm. And Steve says the black and white looks great. Edith says, wow. Cyberdoc says graffiti on a statue is a tattoo. Oh, that could be the case. I hadn't even considered that. So maybe the graffiti is actually intentional. Maybe it's meant to be there. I'm not sure, but that's just a guess. Jeff says, could it be a long exposure? That is a possibility because Noisy Mama said the sky is blurred. And if this was a long exposure, that could account for the blurring that we're seeing in the sky there.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility. Maybe it's not that it was a composite, but maybe it's an HDR, or maybe it is, like you say, a long exposure. Yeah. Right hand shoulder upward line. Yeah, you can see a little bit of that haloing on the edge of that shoulder as well there.
Yeah, leaving around the buildings, the arc in front of her there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very busy, but a very cool shot. I agree. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next shot. And this is one of Thomas's shots. And this, let's see, let me find the info for this shot now.
It's called HDR JPEG, so we know this one's definitely an HDR.
Yep, and it says this is a picture. Oh, we got a couple of quick comments here. So it says, oh, there are people in the bottom of the photo, and yeah, I can see their heads like are just cut off in this shot. Just jumping back to this real quick because of the comments, and those people are sharp. They're in focus. Yeah. So. It seems to me.
I think the sky was added.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think the sky was probably added, which isn't a bad thing, of course. Like we were saying,
if it worked, because if it was just boring or overcast or something, then there's nothing wrong with adding something like that just to sort of add to it for sure.
Yep, exactly. So back to Thomas's photo here. It's an HDR of a twisted tree while I was visiting the Grand Canyon. Oh, interesting. Okay, Thomas says it's actually not an HDR, but the Nick editor appended the HDR to the file. So this is a single photo, not a bracketed HDR. I modified it and cropped it to make it pop, he says. And this is pretty cool. Mark, I'll let you start with this one.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool shot. I like the subject. It's a interesting looking tree for sure. Style-wise, it's definitely not my style. I'm not a big fan of the poppy look, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just my preference. But it's definitely a great subject. I like the way it's kind of there in your face, and it's not really crowded by a bunch of other trees. Like you got one kind of on the left-hand side. You can't see me pointing at it, but it's got a tree on the left-hand side, kind of pointing in the direction of that tree. Eyeing you up there, and then the one broken, again, you can't see me pointing at the screen, but there's one branch looks like it's broken, kind of fallen to the right hand side, which also kind of points you up in that same direction. So it's definitely a well executed shot, and like I said, other than the toning, because it's not my style, I really like the shot.
Yeah, I like this one quite a bit. I don't mind HDR processing depending upon how a person does it, and I think this one works out pretty well. I really like the composition of this shot. As far as the processing goes, one of the things that is worth looking at is the same kind of thing that we were seeing in the last shot, which is the bit of haloing that you get around the edges of things when you're doing edits that manipulate the contrast in different ways. And that's the thing that I see standing out on the tree here. Outside of that, that evidence of the processing, I really like the look and the processing of the photo itself. And I agree with what I think Cyberdoc said, that it's got a nice solid rustic and barren feel to it. And I like that feeling. I also like that tree on the left and how it kind of sweeps up a little bit and points you into this tree in the center. And then again, on the right, you have the broken branch. These are the things that you were mentioning, Mark. And together they create a bit of a triangle that brings you into this tree that's also the central focus of the shot. And then that beautiful backdrop of a sky is also really gorgeous. So I'm really enjoying this shot quite a bit. Thomas says, I don't usually like to oversaturate my images. Sometimes it's worth doing, though.
Yeah, and you don't know until you try. It's all about experimenting and trying something different and something a little bit artistic. And it's definitely different and artistic, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Brenda also agreed that it looks desolate. Jeff says it's a nice shot. Edith loves the sky and was wondering if it's a long exposure. And Thomas said that it is not a long exposure. Oh, hey, Scott just joined us. He said, sorry for being late. No worries at all.
Yeah.
So Noisy Mama's got a question. She says, how do you get rid of haloing from processing? This happens to me even before I start adding contrast.
Is it actually haloing that you're seeing before you're doing your editing, or is it actually like a fringing? Because if you're using Lightroom, it actually has some defringing tools you can use that might help with that.
Yeah, that's a good point, because if you're looking at an edit even before you start editing, if you're doing other editing, then it's still possible that you're getting a little bit of haloing if you're pushing that edit a little bit. But if you're looking at chromatic aberration or fringing from other things, that might be a different issue to deal with. I can show you a quick way to get rid of chromatic aberration. It's a way that could also help with haloing. In this case, if Thomas said there was a lot, it was very sunny. Now, based on the angle of the light, it looks like the sun was coming, was behind-ish, behind and kind of to the left, to camera left. Because if you look, you can see the left side of the tree is catching most of the light. The one branch, that one little branch that's sticking out there, that kind of a little curved up branch, is throwing a shadow to the right. So we have our light coming up here from the right. Yeah, sometimes when you have light coming from the back, this is not backlit, but sometimes when you have light coming from the back, that's when you start to get that fringing and that chromatic aberration, because it's hard for the lens to handle that direct light. And the other reason you get chromatic aberration is along the edges of a lens, which is where the lens tends to lose quality just because of the physics of lens making. Thomas asked if we'd like to see the shot without the effects. If you want to share it, Thomas, yeah, that'd be great. It'd be nice to compare the two, and we could talk a little bit about that. As far as the getting rid of the fringing, yeah, if it's purple fringing, it's chromatic aberration. But I don't think this is chromatic aberration here, because this is center.
I don't think this one is.
Yeah, this is center of the lens here. So yeah, Thomas, if you want to share that original shot, I think it'd be worth taking a look just so we can kind of compare them. And let's see. Cyberdoc says, I get that purple fringing often, need more expensive lenses. Yeah, I mean, the fringing isn't that hard to get rid of, like I said. If you guys want to see how to get rid of the fringing, let me know in the chat.
There's a video for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I actually don't have a video on it, but I could do it right, pretty quick right here, because it's a fairly easy thing to do in Photoshop or Affinity Photo or whatever your editor of choice is. So let us know in the chat if you want to see that. And while we're waiting for oh, here we go. This is the unedited shot. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that out, and here it is. So he cropped it in. This is a wider shot, as you can see, and there's already, I mean, I'm looking at it. Again, this is it is actually pretty full resolution at 13 megabytes. Just because of the contrast of the image itself, you can see, like, when you zoom in Pixel Peep, there's a little bit of that fringing that exists already, just because of the contrast in between the darker branches and the sky.
And then what's the beast.
Yeah, exactly. It's the nature of the beast. And then when you're editing, that amplifies that to a degree. So that's what's happening there with the edit. And getting rid of something like that would be, I mean, I could try to take a stab at it with, if you don't mind me, messing around with your pick a little bit, Thomas, we could take a quick look at what I could possibly do with this to minimize the fringing that you're seeing there. I agree. I think the original is a beautiful shot as well.
Yeah, I do like the original.
Yeah. Thomas says, sure, do whatever.
Go for it, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's come back to that then, because I want to look at some. Or do you guys want to see it right now? While we're debating that, let me save the photo, because I don't want to short shift everybody else, and we want to show you guys see everybody else's photos here. So while we're waiting for this to load, so I can download it. Yeah, both shots are pretty sweet. This was my shot that I uploaded, and this is kind of a crazy shot. So I wanted to tell you the story real quick behind it, and the reason I'm sharing this shot. And I'm glad that Edith is here, because if you guys aren't aware, we do also have a Facebook group where we have different themes for you guys to share photos around. And the theme that Edith set up for this week was, I thought, a pretty cool theme. And that was to share a photo that you took that got you super excited about photography. And this isn't exactly the photo that I took that got me super excited about photography, because I don't actually have that photo anymore. But this one is in the same vein as that shot. So this photo was taken with a point and shoot camera that I hung off of the the bike handle of my bike when I was riding home from work one night. And it was just flipping and flopping around, and you get this crazy long exposure of the lights. And the first time I really connected shutter speed to motion showing up in an image was when a similar sort of thing happened to me. And what happened was we were actually up in Eagle River, Wisconsin, where my wife is from. And I was using that same point-and-shoot camera. It was a Canon PowerShot A40, by the way, trying to take some pictures of fireworks that people were shooting off. And I was just messing around. This is like very early for me in photography. I still had like zero idea of what I was doing. And I had put the camera into its manual mode, which was a very rudimentary manual mode because it was just this, you know, point-and-shoot job. And I was like, I wonder what these numbers do. I'm going to change this one number to 15 inches because it says 15 inches, right?
It does say 15 inches now you mentioned
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I seen some people shooting off some fireworks behind us, and I noticed the way the fireworks were reflecting on the water. So I thought, oh, that looks kind of cool. And I'm like, I'm going to try taking a picture of that. And I held the camera at it, and I clicked the button, and I'm holding it, and I'm like, it didn't finish taking the picture. So I'm holding it, and I'm like, I guess that 15 means it's a longer time. And I just kept holding it until I heard it click. And then when I saw that picture come up, the water was, you know, moving. And because it was moving, the reflection of the fireworks was moving on it. And I got a photo that looked sort of like this one right here. And my mind was blown when I saw that. And I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing in the world. I love this. This photography thing is amazing.
And you start your YouTube channel the next day.
No, I didn't start my YouTube channel for quite a long while after that. But this is one of the things that excited me about photography, was understanding that. Yeah. Okay, so the vote is to do the editing at the end. So that's what we'll do at the end of the stream. And just a quick reminder, I'm going to post in the chat. This is how you share photos. Scott was just asking about this. And that's no problem, Scott. Don't worry about, we're not like super fussy about the sharing. We prefer if you can share it in the share room just so that we can keep everything together. So this is what got us talking about cars a little bit earlier. And this is actually a shot from Thomas again. And I love this shot as well. So this is an image of a truck that was left for dead in the junkyard. This image was taken in Jerome, Arizona while I was on vacation. I modified the image to punch up the grit and give it some feeling. I very much like this photo. I think it's really cool. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I agree. I love old trucks like this, old places like this where there's this junk hanging around. It just has so much character. And in this case, with this one compared to the other one, I don't mind the edit on this one. I don't mind being punchy at all. It's very well suited. So yeah, I'm definitely digging this picture for sure.
Yeah, the tech. I mean, and this is cool. Like, this is a great example of a shot that shows off texture without being like a super close up of texture, because like you can see the change in the paint with the rust, and then you can see the gravel on the ground and more of the rust in the background, and the texture of the building and the texture of that roof of that building. Like, this is a really fantastic shot. I love this shot, Thomas. Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and Thomas asked earlier if we wanted the RAW file, and I'd say actually I don't need the RAW file, just to say, because I'm gonna take this one here into the edit to show a method for cleaning up that fringing a little bit and trying to minimize that, and the RAW file won't have that fringing. Okay, so here we have a photo. It looks like it was edited in Luminar, which is pretty cool, and this is from, let's see here. This is just looking for the information on this one, because I saw it was posted into the chat. This is the only downside, is trying to find all the information. 15. There's that one. I seem to have lost the information on this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all right. I know that this is Wayne's photo. Wayne, if you wouldn't mind just popping any background you have on this into the chat, that would be super helpful. In the meantime, Mark, go ahead and tell us what you think.
Yeah, this one I like. It kind of has a surreal look to it, like the just the way the reflections in of the trees are going into the water just kind of gives it just just kind of adds to it and just makes it look more surreal than it actually is. And I like the greens look like they've been punched a little bit, and I think it's actually suits it nicely the way this one's done. And I like the framing, the way that house or the building at the back there is kind of framed by these trees, and the water is kind of taking your eye up there because you're kind of following along to see what's going on up there. And so yeah, I do like this one.
I like it a lot too. It feels a little. I think you said surreal, and it feels kind of surreal to me as well. It has a very dreamy feel to it. Yeah, that I'm enjoying quite a bit.
And I think it's the reflections in the water that are, especially from the tree, the willow or whatever it is on the left there. The way the reflection is, I think, is just giving it that surreal type look.
I think what helps for me too is the way this feels. It feels very enclosed, but it doesn't feel claustrophobic at the same time, because you have the trees on both sides kind of arching over the water. Everything's directing your attention forward. And what's neat here is that you can see that there's a building in the background there, but at the same time, you can't really see enough detail because of all of the branches and all the other stuff in front. And so it helps emphasize the dreamy feeling, but it also helps engage your brain more, because your brain like wants to know what's going on back there, and it can't see you. So it's like, trying to figure out what's happening. And the relatively monochromatic green of the image, the variation in the greens really helps with that too. This is a beautiful photo. My wife says, I want to visit Wayne's photo, and she's wondering where it was taken. Cyberdoc says, a dreamscape reflection for sure. Emerald City in the country. Yeah, very much. So this was taken at Clare, Suffolk, a quiet river. Very nice. So that's in the UK. And Steve says, all I can hear now is trickling water. Yes.
Now I have to pee.
Right. And my wife says, this place would be in one of the fantasy books I read. Absolutely. Beautiful photo, Wayne. Thank you very much for sharing. So this is Jason's photo here. And let's see. Jason says, take it on my iPhone 7 Plus using the photo app. And this is at f1.8 and 1/20th of a second and ISO 40. And natural light from the window at camera left. And 57 millimeter full frame field of view. And he says, we did some baking. I'm pretty happy with the composition on this one. Also, the depth of field looks pretty good for a phone. Cyberdoc says, I just gained 800 calories looking at this photo. That's hilarious. Luella Chamberlain says, can I feel safe here? You sure can. If you want to share a photo, we're all about sharing and helping each other out.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, Jeff says, I'm hungry now. Good food is always good to photograph, Thomas says, but better to eat. I 100% agree with that. What do you think, Mark? Go ahead.
No, I like this. Like I wouldn't have guessed it was a phone photo, so that's a bit of a bonus in itself right there. And he commented that he thinks he did good with the composition of it, and I completely agree. It's definitely a pleasing view, and the natural light coming in just tops it all off. There's nothing like natural window light coming in for sure.
Right. Yeah. You kind of can't beat natural window light. It's really fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying this photo too. Like that cinnamon roll right in the corner there. I mean, I want to eat it. I'm not going to lie. So, you've captured the feel of what you're going for here, and the baking and, the tastiness of it. And that depth of field, like you said, works out really nicely for the phone, being that you're shooting so close. It lets things fall off into the background. So the framing is really nice. The exposure is really nice. That window light, like you say, is really, really beautiful. This is a really nice shot.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's got more food, I think, for next week's texture photo. So that should be pretty fun and pretty interesting as well. Yeah. Let's see. Madison says, I'm into culinary, so I'm doing food photo shoots soon. That's excellent. And Lewis says, in pictures like this, I always wonder where the focus should be, front or back or the whole thing. So that's a good question, and it honestly depends upon what your intent is.
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
what I was going to say too.
yeah, and in this particular case, yeah, Jason just said the exact same thing. It depends on what you want to capture. I liked the focus front on this one. He says, I've also done pictures with the focus in the middle. And,
I think in this case, with it being at the front, with the background being out of focus, it helps because like you can see there's some stuff there, but it's not distracting. You're just looking at the buns, whereas if the depth of field in this one was deeper, or if the focus was at the back, then it might be more distracting with that stuff back there. But if it was in a different location with a cleaner background, or if the stuff that's back there was related to the project, in this case the buns, which quite possibly it is, it's probably kitchen stuff, then it could also work as well too. Again, it just depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I agree too. I think the front focus works on this one. Leroy says I'd still be hungry no matter where the focus point was. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and Cyberdoc says you could do image stacking, but that would be tricky. And Diana said it looks yummy. It absolutely looks yummy.
Yeah.
All right, so this next photo, this is yours, Mark, so I'm just going to let you say what you got to say.
Okay, this photo was taken on my weekend adventure that I had. The details on it, let me look in here in Lightroom so I make sure I give you the right information. It was shot at ISO 3200 at 83 millimeters at f3.5, and the shutter speed was 1/100th of a second. This one I just made it black and white just because I thought it because of the being in basically it was shot in a parking garage, so being in a parking garage just kind of grungy, and to me this one just kind of screamed grungy black and white, and I gave it a lot of contrast as well too, just to kind of give it some more punch to it, and this is what I ended up with.
Mm-hmm. I like it quite a bit. We were chatting a little bit about it before the stream started, and I was telling Mark how much I liked how he used that fan as the background to set the model off, to add some interest, basically creating this bloom of light behind her to help set her, but it also has some interest and some texture of its own. Thomas says, I like the high contrast, and I would agree with that. That contrast, I think, works really great. I really like her pose, the way she's got her hands on her hips and a slight curve with kicking her hip out on that, and the way she's got her head turned as well. My wife says, I love her dress and the picture. And my wife was wondering if she's a pagan or a Wiccan. She's asking
the pentagram.
Yeah, because of the pentagram strapping on the dress, which I didn't even notice. I mean, like, I noticed the strapping and I really enjoyed the lines and the movement, but I didn't even catch the pentagram implication of it. So that's really, really cool. Scott says, or possibly goth, which is a possibility.
Yeah, but she does dress goth, but
okay.
But I do know that she's also atheist as well too. So
okay,
it's more for the goth side of things.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
And I think the reason you don't notice the pentagram as well either is I haven't done the final edit on this one is because of the one bra strap, and I was planning on editing that out.
Okay, I see. Yep, I do see that strap. Yeah, Luella says that she likes her dress, especially the straps. Thomas says it definitely pulls her out from the background. Noisy Mama also didn't notice the pentagram. So it wasn't just me. And Edith agrees that she likes the way it pulls out the background. Jeff likes the composition. Mike likes the black and white. And Cyberdoc also likes the backlighting. It's a nice diffusion and outline with feel of religion. Yep, absolutely. And Edith really loves the framing, and Mike says... good hand posture as well. Yeah. My wife says I always notice pentagrams. Yes, you do. Hey, sub vids, how's it going? Environmental framing, exactly. Yep. Everybody's really liking the framing on this shot. Very cool.
Thank you for the comments, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. This is one of Steve's photos. I'm excited about this photo as well. So where'd Steve's info go? This was taken with, I know this was taken with Steve's new, here we go, a few from a couple of weeks ago, shot with the D850 and his new 200mm f2 Nikon. And
Ooh, F2 lens.
yeah, I mean, look at her Cyberdoc says her eyes are wild. I agree with that. Her eyes are super intense. I love the way her hair comes out and how the color of her hair pops.
Was it shot wide open? Do we know?
I don't have
this. That F2 to see how sharp it was.
I'm guessing Steve shot it wide open, but he didn't put the.
He did say all.
Oh, F2. Yep, and all at F2. Okay, very very cool. Always F2, always. He says. Oh, that's hilarious. That you know what that reminds me of? There was this meme I saw, this like joke article or whatever. It was like The Onion or something, where a photographer like discovered that he could change the aperture to like f5.6 or something, and it was like, I didn't even know what this aperture thing is, like what because like all open, the joke was all open all the time. I'll have to find that and share it sometime because that would be it was a funny joke. Yeah. Lewis says the red popping out of the side of the head, loves it as well. That hair and her eyes are wild. Crispy edges, good detail, absolutely. Yeah. Noisy Mama says, how do you add info when you upload a photo? I didn't see anything come up for me to do so. So real quick, for any of you who are wondering about that, we have a share room that you can get to at this link right here. And when you go to that share room, you have the option to upload a photo by just dragging in or hitting the upload button. And then there's a chat on the side as well. And you can just type your information in there. And what happens is when you upload a photo, it attaches the username to the photo. And you don't have to make an account or anything. You don't even really have to worry about the username unless you want to connect it to you. But what helps us is that the username is connected to the photo. So when you leave a message in the chat with your information, we can see the username and we know which message to look for when we're looking at the photo.
Yeah. So give me 1 second. I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
Take care of something quickly.
Okay. All right. Edith says amazing. Jeff saw that joke as well. The bow lips are great as well. Yes, her lips are really beautiful as well. Okay, this was 1/320th of a second and handheld with a camera lens weighing in at 9.2 pounds. Let's see. 3:30 until on share. Okay. Probably 10 feet away. And Thomas says, I usually travel with a tripod that converts to a mono. That helps with that. So this is another one of Steve's photos shot with that F2, a wider angle shot. And again, I think it's a really, really beautiful shot. That bokeh, like that F2 bokeh is just absolutely beautiful, beautiful bokeh. And I love the way her hair is a little bit frizzy. And the way it does, I don't know if there was wind, but that frizziness to her hair makes it feel like there's wind, and that helps add some motion to the image, which I'm really enjoying. It was windy. Okay, awesome. And there's a little bit of allure here as well, of course, because she's kind of pulling open the coat a little bit, and it's a very sexy, very beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shot. The wind was like 20 miles per hour steady. Yeah, okay, I can see that. And it's subtle, but it helps add motion that I really like to this image. And again, her eyes are just incredibly striking. Did you shoot this with flash? It looks like you used a flash, which is not a criticism. I'm just looking at the catch lights and thinking that you used a little bit of flash on this, which I think is just absolutely beautiful either way. But yeah, I love this. Steve says, yes, just to pop the eyes. Awesome photo. It was 34 degrees and she was in a thong. Oh my, she was brave then. She was taking the cold for the photo. Although I'm sure the coat helped keep her warm to some degree, other than in front where her skin was open to the wind. But yeah, this is gorgeous, gorgeous photo. Thank you so much for sharing, Steve. Models do not get enough kudos. Absolutely, models do a ton of work. Modeling is really hard, and that's something that's really important to remember.
That's why I don't do it.
But I mean, on that point real quick, I would say that for anybody that photographs people, it is well worth your time to take self-portraits. Even if nobody ever sees them, you will learn a ton about modeling from putting yourself in front of that camera and taking self-portraits. It will make you a better portrait photographer. I promise you that. So I would highly encourage that you do that if you are shooting. Okay, here we go. Here's another one. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, these are gorgeous. These are really, really gorgeous. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one just because we have a lot of photos to get through. But these photos are really beautiful, Steve.
Oh, that's a nice one. I like
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. So we got a nice hockey shot here. Now this is Mike McKenna. And let me see. These are the photos of the hockey game that he was shooting, the Division III championship game here in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And it's a really great action shot. Go ahead, Mark. I'll let you start on this one.
Okay, I have to talk now.
Yeah.
Yeah, after that cough, but it's I'm by far from a hockey expert, so when it comes to sports, I don't really know what to look for, so it's hard for me to critique in that respect. But I think it looks like the white balance is bang on because the ice actually looks white. It looks like the action was frozen, and it's hard to tell on my small screen here because I'm just looking at it through the stream. Just because my internet's slow, so try to download the higher resolution ones is difficult, but it looks like it's sharp.
Yeah, it is.
So that's about all I can say. Because, like I said, sports isn't my thing, so it's kind of hard for me to really give any comments other than it's a great shot. It looks like a great shot.
Yeah, I agree. What I like about this is how the action is just fully converging on the goalie and the goal shot. And you can see, I'm guessing this is the puck over on the right. So it's kind of neat because behind all of this action, so I'm zooming in, this is a little bit lower res again because it's being shared online. So it's not going to look super sharp as I zoom in. But if you look here at the goal action, you can actually see the puck is behind everybody and everything. You can see the goalie has got his attention on the puck, but everybody else is just like converging on this action here and trying to, obviously the yellow team, the Pointers. Hey, those are the Pointers. I'm not a sports ball guy, so the Pointers are trying to get the goal in. I'm not sure this other team, but they're clearly trying to keep it out. And Mike says long range, getting that puck is hard. I think you did a good job with this, Mike. I really do. I like this shot quite a bit. I love the action you captured in this. And one of my favorite things that I just noticed here is like this going on in the background too. Like these people, like, the excitement that they're feeling, like, oh my God. This is a really cool shot. That's a duplicate of the hockey shot. Oh, this is another one from Steve. Oh my God. Steve, that's just gorgeous. That is just gorgeous.
Hasn't come up on the screen yet for me.
Okay. Yeah. So
there we go. Okay, yeah, that's nice. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a very, very beautiful shot. Yeah,
I like the toning in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the toning really works in this. This is really great. Like, I can't say enough. Her eyes are just popping, even though this is a full-length shot. That the clothing she's wearing is gorgeous. That sword hilt sticking out gives us this warrior vibe and this strength. This is just absolutely fabulous. We got some comments about Mike's shot. Hockey's very hard to shoot. Jason says +1 for hockey being difficult. Madison says that's a good sports shot. Maybe a higher ISO next time, she's suggesting. Jeff says nice sports shot as well. And on to Steve's, he says, I thought the sepia tone worked with the bare trees. And I would agree 100%.
Yeah.
Harley says it's gorgeous. Good. Looks good in black and white, says Thomas. Cyberdoc also loves the toning. And, Steve shot. Well, that makes sense. He was shooting with that F2, so he had to back off like 50 feet to get this shot. Yeah, that's hilarious. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. Let's move on. Let's see. This shot is, let me find the information on this one. Okay, so this is, I believe, a pull shot, or maybe not. Is this right? Looking for the information. Here we go. Oh, this is Brenda.
Yeah, Brenda says it's
okay.
her.
Yep, I found it in the chat here. This is Brenda. This was shot in auto mode on her Nikon Coolpix S3700. Okay, excellent. So we have some fishing action going on here. Mark, I'll let you start with this one.
Yeah, that's I like the way. Actually, I can't tell whether it's actually in the picture or whether it's the the software for showing it. But if it's the actual picture, to me it looks like he's framed in a doorway and you're shooting out through a doorway. But that could just be the stream coming through.
I think it might be the stream.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, it's still a good capture of this gentleman fishing and basically enjoying what he likes doing, and the only thing that that I would maybe comment on is it looks like that the bush is in focus versus him being in focus. But other than that, it's I like the concept of what you're trying to capture here.
I think it might be. I think you might be seeing a little motion from him casting. I'm guessing.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, or maybe reeling or just handling the rod.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but what's interesting about this shot is the way it's framed. Thomas says it's framed well, and I would actually agree with that. You've got him framing and blocking off the left side. And so it presents him in the scene, and you can see him and what's happening. And then you have this pole going out into the frame. So this line leads you out into everything, and then you can see what's going on in the rest of the shot. You see this beautiful lake, you see the trees in the background, and you can see him engaged and intent on his fishing. You can see his gaze moving through into the shot, into the water. The main downside with this, of course, is when you're shooting in a situation like this, you have a very high dynamic range. You have a very high difference between the brightness of the brightest parts of the scene, which are the sky and the water catching the reflection of the sky and whatnot. And then relative to that, how very dark, the person, her husband, is as the subject. And so in this particular shot, the brights took priority, which leaves him falling into some shadow. There's enough detail there that you can see him, and it's not just a full silhouette. But that's just the nature of the physics of dynamic range and capturing an image. Otherwise, I think it's a really nice image, Brenda. And a circular polarizer could help a little bit with that, or shooting it as a bracket. But yeah, Brenda, a flash could help. Absolutely, because with a flash, you can then put some light on him as a subject and light him up as well. But what I would say is I'd be wary of just using the pop-up flash, because that's not the most flattering light in the world. Like, I don't know if your it's the S3700, the Coolpix S3700, and I'm not sure if that offers a hot shoe where you can use an external flash. But using an external flash or a trigger that allows you to get the flash off camera would give you more flattering lighting options. And Brenda says that's all I have. Totally understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you work with what you have, right? And that's totally fine.
Yeah, and in a case like this, you're trying to capture a moment too, so it's not like you have time to set stuff up either. It's just kind of, this looks interesting.
Exactly.
A memory to keep, and so you quickly snap the picture.
Yeah, and John has a really, really excellent point here. He says a reflector would be best here, and that's absolutely right. Like, a reflector is a way to add light without having a flash or having to worry about off-camera or any of that stuff. And a simple piece of white foam board could be used as a reflector. By taking that reflector and having somebody hold it or propping it up somewhere to bounce some light off of that reflector onto your subject, you could bring that up as well. So that's something you could try in the future if you wanted to, Brenda. Which, again, like if you want to do it on the cheap, you can go to the dollar store and get, a piece of $1 20-inch by 30-inch foam board that'll work very nicely as a reflector. Mike says, good rule of thirds use needs a catch on the end. I agree. That would be nice to have a catch on the end. Ah, this is Angela. This must be one of Jeff's photos. Because this is Angela. I've worked with Angela a bunch, as you guys know, so it's wonderful to see a familiar face pop up in here. So let me find the information about this shot. Where is it? I'm wondering if my... there it is right there. Okay. There it is. I'm just trying to find Jeff's information. Pentax K3, Tamron 28 to 75 millimeter, f2.8, ISO 100, and 1/400th of a second. Oh, no, the f2.8 lens, but it was actually shot at f5.6 and 1/400th of a second. And it looks like some flash was used on this shot as well, because Angela's lit very beautifully here, but you have that nice, super deep, super rich, dark background behind her. Mike says sort of a classical Greek pose. It's a very nice shot. I agree. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with what you've said so far. It's nicely lit, and I like all the shadows on her on camera right side. Just helps give some definition and depth to the shot. So like even where her legs bent, you got some nice shadow in there, and just on her one side, and and even on her face, the shadows just gives it that nice pop to it.
Okay, I apologize. This is actually Noisy Mama's shot. I thought it was Jeff's shot. My apologies for mixing that up. So Noisy Mama is another local photographer in my area and a friend of mine, although I haven't seen her in quite a while. And she also works with Angela, and this is a really beautiful shot. And I agree with what the classical, somebody just said that, the classical feeling of the shot. Like a classic Greek pose. And I agree with you as well, Mark, that Noisy Mama's lighting here is really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
Coming in, yep, it is. It's spot on. Coming in from that left, there's beautiful illumination. I love the way the light hits the folds of the fabric and creates a lot of depth and texture and motion in the fabric. And I love the ways Angela's posing, and the way she has these angles, right? The arm and the elbow is out, the knee is up. So she's creating these angles, which is a really interesting contrast to the flow and the texture of the fabric, and those shadows to give definition to the right side of her wrapping around, and the light in there. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful shot. Yeah. Let's see here. Diana says it has a very theatrical feel. Jeff says nice with very good exposure. The lighting works really well. Thomas says very interesting. Also likes the folds of the fabric. Lewis says I like the hands. Yeah, I agree. Angela is really wonderfully expressive as a model, and her posing I think is wonderful. And here you can see she did a lot with her hands, which it can be very difficult to do. Getting hands to look good can be very, very difficult. So it's a really wonderful model that can use their hands and pose them and add them to the shot and make them expressive. Noisy Mama says, thank you for the compliment. She misses her studio. I didn't know you didn't have your studio anymore. That is a total bummer. Oh, and she says, all the posing classes I've taken have paid off, in Angela's and mine dance lessons, because they both dance together, belly dance, which is amazing as well. Janice says, beautiful photo as well. Yes, this is really wonderful. Okay, so this shot is quick water break, and let me see if I can find the information here. For the quick water break photo, I was at the park with my son and snapped it quickly before he was done drinking the water. It was also one of my first times testing my new at the time, fully manual 85mm Rokinon lens. And this is Lewis's shot. Mark, I'll let you start.
Yeah, well, for a manual lens that you've manually focused on a quick subject like that, it looks like you nailed it pretty good. I like. I do like the way this is captured. I like the nice shallow depth of field and how everything's, even the fence straight there is starting to blur out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a minor thing, but I wish that all of the little scooter had been captured instead of it just kind of being chopped off a little bit on the end. I'm also wondering if this might have worked well as a horizontal shot as well too. But again, it's similar to the fishing picture. It's a shot that you're trying to capture the moment, so you don't really have time to mess around, because then he would have noticed you're taking this picture and then run off or something like that. So with a picture like that, whatever you can get is what you get, and then you make it work.
Yeah, especially being as this is a manual focus, 85mm. That's
takes
tough.
More time.
Yeah, it takes more time. That's tough. I love the framing. Edith agrees. She loves the framing as well. And the thing, I agree, Mark. It would be nice, like, to have that little bit of the extra wheel of the scooter in there.
But it's not a deal breaker by any stretch.
Exactly, it's not a deal breaker. And I love that this is vertical, because there's so much verticality to this image that I think if it were framed horizontal, I'm not sure if it would have the same impact that it's having on me. Because you have him up on tiptoe trying to take a drink, right? So that's adding a feeling of that verticality and trying to get upwards.
Yeah, there's more vertical lines than there are horizontal lines.
Exactly. Yep. And then you have the big, the big vertical water fountain. You have the verticality of the scooter itself, and then you have that vertical fence post that just shoots up right in between him and that giant, water fountain post. And then you've got the lights in the background, and you have the trees back there. There's so much verticality here that it feels very light and airy and uplifting in the photo, and I really, really like that. The colors are also gorgeous. We've got, great story in color, Harley says. Jeff says, simple yet moving. I agree 100%. The motion in this is really, really wonderful. And Thomas says the same thing with that manual lens. That was not easy. Absolutely. He wanted to get that scooter, but he said he couldn't get it in time. Totally get that. You know what? Yep, it happens. And Steve made an excellent point, which is that sometimes capturing the moment is better than trying to get the perfect shot. And I agree with that. Same with like Brenda's photo of her husband. And it's we're talking about the difference in the light values, but it's still a really great shot. And this is another example of you don't perfection isn't the goal here. The goal is to capture something that evokes joy in us as photographers, and this is another great example of that.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure what you were planning on for tonight, but it is past 8 o'clock, so I don't know if you were going to, if you had to finish at 8 tonight or not.
I do have to. I want to try to get through some more photos, but I am going to have to wrap it up at about 7:20. It's 7 o'clock here at my time. So I've got about 10 after right now, and in about 8 or 9 minutes we'll have to wrap up the show. But I do want to try to get through as many photos as possible because you guys came and took the time to share, and I don't want to short shift you guys. So let's move on to the next photo. This one is...
We'll powerhouse through them.
What's that?
We'll powerhouse through them.
Yeah. And I don't want to like short shift it here either, but I'm trying to find... I don't see any information on this photo in the chat. So I'll let you go ahead, Mark, and start.
Okay. I like the moment that's captured here. Even shooting at the low angle up at them, I think it works well in this case because they just kind of stand out, and basically gives a bit of a like they're the main subject because they're big, right. They're there. It's everything's there. I just wish there was more light on their faces. That's the one thing that I do find is missing. Like again, like we talked about with the other shot, a reflector could have worked well here. If this was another spur of the moment, just a random capture, then again it's a case of you got what you got, and so be it. If this was a little bit more planned, then some fill flash might have been good, or a reflector to get some light in their face. But I do like the captured moment in general, and overall it is a nice picture.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I believe this is Jeff's shot because Jeff just put in the chat that this was the K3 f5.6 ISO 100 and 1/400, and Paul and Jason. Or Paul and Thomas Giuliano also commented about the lighting, and I agree. It would be nice to get some light in here if you could. If you can't, like if this is a shot that you have to get at the time because you don't have a reflector, you don't have something else, a flash to put some light in there, like that's totally cool.
Sometimes it is what it is.
Exactly. Sometimes it is what it is. Jason says he's not usually a fan of the dappled light, but he thinks it works fairly well with this one. The important thing about this is, like you said, they are clearly the attention of the frame, and I love the openness we feel because of this landscape. You have a little bit of rock in the foreground here to ground them, and then you have this big expanse of open sky, and you have them just gazing at each other, clearly in love, clearly very happy to be together, and I think that helps make this a really, really wonderful shot. Even if they aren't as lit as maybe they could be, it's still very, very nice. Subvid says more light on the faces and less headroom, possibly. Maybe, but I like that openness. I do like that openness, that expanse feeling that we have behind them.
An environmental portrait in this case.
Yes, very, very much so. Okay, so this shot is from EMP USA, so I'm also not seeing any info on this photo in the chat. So I'll just let you start with this one. And also, go ahead, Mark.
It's a nice little landscape shot. I like the road on the one side. It's sort of it's kind of funny because it starts off right at the corner of the frame, then it
It goes,
disappears. Yeah, and then it's like, oh, at first you kind of think, oh, that's kind of weird because you keep looking there to see where the road is, and you're not getting to see the rest of it. But then you eventually work your way through it, and you do see the road continue on further up, and leading into the mountains here. I like the processing. I like the colors and everything, and overall, it's a good shot. I like it for a landscape shot.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shot. I love all of the undulation in this shot. That road you were pointing out, the mountains, the hills, whatever those are in the background, the way the grass and the land rolls around. And then that blue is just absolutely stunning. That sky is really, really gorgeous. I do see a couple of like sensor dirt spots, like right here. You can see as I zoom in. That's super minor. That's something that's worth taking a second to clean up. There's another one over here in the corner too. And like I said, that's not a big deal. There's actually a number of them now that I'm actually looking for them. So it might be worth cleaning your sensor on this one. But regardless of the sensor spots, it's a beautiful, gorgeous photo. Jason says, great work on the sky. I was wondering if it was done in post or if he used if the photographer used a graduated ND filter. Thomas says, a jump into the valley. Cyberdoc enjoys the variations in the texture and the layers. Really nice landscape, Jeff says, with good exposure. I agree. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Noisy Mama said there's a nice little village there, too. Yeah, it's nestled right there in the valley.
I did see that. But
yeah.
I already did my spiel, and then I noticed it.
Right. And Mike says it's a great landscape, and you could also try shooting this at the golden hour, which I bet would look really, really gorgeous as well.
Yeah, depending on how high those peaks are, you get the sun just coming up and giving some nice reflective light right off those peaks. It could be real nice.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I do want to say we're not ending the show just yet. It might even take it a little bit longer just to try to get through some more of your photos. But I do want to say to everybody, thank you so much for sharing your photos with us. We appreciate it. We appreciate the opportunity to share these with everybody else who's joining the stream and to be able to chat about photos and photography and things that make us excited about photography. So thank you to everybody who joins these streams and takes the time to share their photos. This photo is from... just again looking for any information on the photo.
Ashes.
Oh, this is Ash's. Okay, excellent. So this is Ash's photos. Very, very cool. So here we have another truck that looks like it was left to die. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. My biggest pet peeve with this
I'll be right back.
Okay. So my biggest pet peeve with this one is the Dutch angle on it. It's to me, that's, I think it should be straight. But other than that, I like the old truck sitting there. I'd probably clone out that newer pickup truck that's in the back there, just to kind of. I guess there's a couple of newer vehicles there. I'd probably clone those out just to get them out of the frame. I'd probably also give this a little bit more contrast, just to give that rust and the toning in that truck just a little bit more punch. Other than that, I think with a little bit of work on this one here, I think you could really change it from a decent image to a real nice image. Just like I said, straighten that angle out, give it a bit more contrast, give it some punch, and then I think it could clone out those newer vehicles in the back. I think you'd have a nice killer shot here.
I'm digging the angle on this one. The reason I like the angle is because it kind of upsets everything, and that upset leads into that feeling of kind of like decay and decline of the truck. Right. This was shot on a cell phone. Ash just shot this with a cell phone, and notice something else too. Okay, as far as the straightening goes, I think straightening would be a mistake also, because if you look at that tree is pretty vertical, and if you straighten this is on a hill. If you straighten this, then you're going to have a tree that's looking like this, and that's going to really whack you out when you're looking at this image. So I think Ash leaving it as is works both in, kind of the theme of the photo and in not like making that tree look like it's about to fall open. And the processing, like you were saying, Mark, I think taking this and punching it up a little bit, this, like Thomas's earlier photo of that truck, getting a little bit more pop and contrast in the decay is something that you could certainly do. I also agree that it would be worth it to take a minute if you wanted to work on this. Like if this is just a grab shot, like it's a grab shot, you know, on a cell phone, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was on a hill like 4 hours away from me, so definitely on a hill. That's what I figured. But cloning out those trucks in the background, I think, would be worth it too. I like this shot though because of that. I really like it because of that angle. It makes me feel like the truck's going to just slide off into decay. Yeah, it really does, and I really like that. And the fact that it's like just parked underneath the tree augments that, right? Because it's almost like fields are where vehicles go to die, you know. And I like that feeling that comes out of this shot. Yeah. Ash says it's private property and he doesn't have access anymore, so he couldn't go back and redo it. I do have a lot of pics of it that I could edit. I was guessing you had a lot that you could work on and edit, and I think this one has a lot of potential in your edit too, Ash. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. I think some more contrast and maybe even desaturate a little bit might work well too.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah. Some stuff to play with anyways.
Ooh, check out that car.
Oh, it's Kit.
Just need the light on front.
Yeah.
This is Steve's, and just to get through more, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this one. But I think in the future we'll ask people to limit their sharing to one photo. Just because we're getting a lot of photos. Here we've got a really, really nice bear shot.
Yeah, I hope that was with a long lens.
Yeah, this is Melissa Land. Let me see if Melissa shared any information about this photo. I'm not seeing any info, but that's all right. Go ahead, Mark.
Steve says his wife's photo, 570-200 Tamron.
Excellent. Okay, this is Steve's wife's photo. This is awesome. So was this taken at the zoo? I'm guessing it was.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if that's a wild bear, I'd want longer than a 200 millimeter.
Yeah. Noisy Mama says, love that color. Yep, it was at the zoo. What I love is the sharpness of the bear and all of that detail you can see in that fur. That's just absolutely fabulous. And shooting this on the 70-200 Tamron and blowing that background and letting that fall off into shallower depth of field is just like spot on. Mm-hmm. The colors are great. They're really popping, that green particularly, but also the browns of the bear and the fur. And I love the interaction between the bear and the tree. I think this is really, really excellent shot.
Yep. He thinks it was shot at f4.
Okay, yeah, nice detail. Pole says the fur around the neck is gnarly, absolutely, and the face is amazing, absolutely. These are really, really great. Mm-hmm. Ooh, check this out. Mike says, love the 70-200. Thomas says, nice shot of the bear. I would have ran. That's funny. Yeah. Lewis says it's an awesome shot as well. This is a very cool shot. So this one I know we have some information on. This is the Contoocook River, shot with the Nikon D80 and the 18-250 millimeter Sigma at 0.3 of a second. 0.3 of a second? 0.3 seconds. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. F13. This is Janice's. Excellent. And ISO 100. And this is really, Janice, I love this shot. That rush of that water that you captured with that slower shutter speed, that 0.3 of a second shutter speed, is just absolutely amazing. Like, I feel like I'm about to get washed away. And I gotta ask Janice, like, where the heck were you standing when you took this photo? Because it feels like you are in the middle of this, which is freaking me out a little bit. This is amazing. The contrast, that motion, that flow. One of the things I really love is the ice. It's right, because you have this terrible, chaotic, powerful motion coming from the river and the flow, but then you have all of this ice, which is the exact opposite: frozen, locked, unmoving,
stuck in place.
Stuck in place water.
Yeah.
Exactly in the middle on a bridge over it, Janice says. Yeah, Lewis says the water looks like it was painted aggressively. That's a super wonderful description. Mm-hmm. Cyberdoc says tremendous action. It makes me apprehensive, like I might fall in, adding to the sense of urgency. He says it's a ripping shot. Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, with this one being as desaturated as it is, I'd be interested to see what this would look like as a black and white. I think it might actually be well suited as a black and white.
I think it would work as a black and white, but I love the color to it. It's leaning towards like kind of a sepia-ish feel, just in the natural colors of it, and I think that works just as it is. Because it's winter, there's not much. There's a bit of green in there, but it's subdued enough that it's not drawing attention away. This is just a beautiful, beautiful photo. I love the brown churned water. Yeah, everybody loves this shot. The ice is super cool looking. Love the long exposure, Steve said. Absolutely. Waterfall in the back makes it too, Pole says. I agree with that. That water and fall in the back really helps add to that rush and that feel. This is a super cute shot.
Shows you the power of the water.
Yeah.
Cute kids.
Yeah. Oh, this is another shot from Janice, I believe. Super cute shot of a baby. Let's see. I don't think there's any information on this one, but we already looked at one of Janet's. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to move on to the next shot. This is another shot. Let me see if there's any information from this one. I don't see any here. Go ahead, Mark, while I'm looking at the info. Trying to find the info.
Yeah, it's a interesting Christmas shot. I like the decorations and that, and I'm not sure if that's smoke or fire coming out of that lantern there. It's kind of interesting the way it's captured.
It's a bit of both.
Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, I do find that yellow sign is a little bit of a distraction because it doesn't really scream Christmas like everything else does, and it is pretty bright in the background and kind of keeps drawing my eye away from the main thing that you're trying to see here. Unless there's some text on there that is kind of directly related. I see some text, but I can't tell what it actually says. So,
yeah. So this is Scott's shot, and he said this was at a wedding. So I'm guessing that torch